The maintenance bay of the Celestial Meridian hummed with the usual symphony of starship machinery. Eli Grant wiped grease from his hands studying the plasma conduit he'd just repaired. 3 weeks aboard this luxury vessel, and he'd already fixed more systems than the previous engineer had touched in 6 months. The alien crew whispered about him in their native tongues, but Eli didn't mind. He was here to work, not to make friends. Lady Zarina Voss watched him from the observation deck above, her crystalline eyes narrowing with distaste. The Valthari noblewoman had never approved of hiring a human mechanic. Humans were upstarts barely a century into the galactic community, yet they acted as if they owned the stars. This Eli Grant, was particularly insufferable. He dared to contradict her in front of her attendants, explaining that her ancient Valthari engineering wisdom was actually causing the ship's power fluctuations. He'd been right, of course. That made it worse. Shireena's fingers drummed against the rail, her mind made up. She would teach this primitive mammal a lesson about respect. Her family had hunted across a dozen worlds. They knew predators. They bred them, trained them, weaponized them. In the cargo hold below, sedated and waiting, was her finest specimen, a Kethrak, a 600-pound apex predator from the death world of Kethros Prime. Its kind had never failed to kill. She smiled, showing her pointed teeth. By morning, there would be a tragic accident. The human would be mourned briefly, and she would select a more compliant replacement. Eli heard the sound first, a low, rumbling growl that vibrated through the deck plates. He straightened, wrench still in hand, and turned toward the main corridor. The emergency lights flickered red. Someone had disabled the safety protocols. The Kethrak emerged from the shadows like liquid death. Its sleek body was plated with obsidian black scales that absorbed light. 6 legs carried it with impossible grace, each paw armed with retractable claws that could shred steel. Twin rows of eyes glowed amber in the darkness, fixed on Eli with predatory focus. Its maw opened, revealing teeth designed to bite through starship hulls. Most beings would have frozen. Most beings would have died. Eli Grant was not most beings. He'd grown up on Terra's African reserve, where his parents studied megafauna behavior. He'd been mock-charged by elephants at age 8. He'd tracked lions with nothing but a radio collar signal and his wits. He understood something that most spacefaring species had forgotten in their millennia of civilization. Predators didn't want to fight. They wanted to hunt. There was a difference. The Kethrak charged. Eli didn't run. Instead, he roared back, a primal bellow that echoed through the maintenance bay. He slammed his wrench against a metal panel, creating a deafening clang. The creature skidded to a halt, confusion flickering across its alien features. In that moment of hesitation, Eli read its body language. The slight angle of its head, the tension in its haunches, the way its forward eyes focused while its rear eyes scanned for escape routes. This wasn't a creature driven by hunger or territory. This was a confused animal, drugged and transported, released into an unfamiliar environment with artificial commands overriding its instincts. Someone had sent this beast to kill him. Eli's jaw clenched. He'd deal with that later. The Kethrak lunged again, but this time Eli was ready. He dove beneath its strike, rolling across the deck and coming up beside its massive flank. In one fluid motion, he leaped onto its back, wrapping his arms around the thickest part of its scaled neck. The creature went berserk. It twisted, bucked, slammed against bulkheads. Eli held on, his muscles screaming, his fingers finding purchase between the armored scales. He pressed his face against the beast's neck and did something that no Valthari hunter had ever thought to do. He spoke to it, not in words, but in touch. Firm pressure, consistent contact, the same techniques he'd used with frightened horses and traumatized rescue cats back home. He became part of the creature's movement, not fighting it but flowing with it. His heartbeat synchronized with its frantic pulse. Gradually, the Kethrak's movement slowed. Its breathing steadied. It stopped seeing Eli as prey or threat and started recognizing him as something else, something that had mounted it not to kill but to understand. When the creature finally stood still, sides heaving but calm, Eli remained on its back. He guided it with gentle pressure, the way he'd seen his grandmother guide her horse. The Kethrak responded, taking tentative steps forward. Lady Zarina Voss stood in the corridor, her elegant features frozen in disbelief. She'd come to witness the aftermath, to feign horror at the tragic malfunction that had released a dangerous predator. Instead, she watched a human, a mere mechanic, ride her most prized Kethrak through the maintenance bay as if it were a domesticated mount. Eli guided the creature to a stop directly in front of her. He looked down at the noblewoman from his unusual vantage point, and she saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Not anger, not fear, just a deep, tired disappointment. "You sent it to kill me," Eli said quietly. It wasn't a question. Sharina's silence was confirmation enough. Eli dismounted slowly, keeping one hand on the Kethrak's scales. The creature made a rumbling sound, almost purr-like, pressing its massive head against his shoulder. "Here's what's going to happen," Eli continued, his voice carrying the weight of certainty. "You're going to properly sedate this beautiful animal and return it to a habitat where it belongs. You're going to transfer off this ship at the next station, and you're going to think very carefully about why you believed a predator. Any predator would be your weapon instead of making its own choice." He scratched behind the Kethrak's auditory ridge, and the creature's eyes half closed in contentment. "Because that's what humanity learned a long time ago, Lady Voss. Predators don't serve, they choose. And when you treat them with respect instead of dominance, sometimes they choose you." Sharina Voss left the celestial meridian at dawn. The story spread through the ship, then the station, then the sector, the human mechanic who'd ridden a Kethrak. The day humanity reminded the galaxy that they'd been taming predators since before most species had discovered fire.